It's always our pleasure to welcome Congressman Robert Pittenger to the program. He represents the 9th District in North Carolina in the United States Congress. And Congressman Pittenger, welcome back to the program, sir.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Well, I was intrigued by a column from about a week or so ago, a little less than a week, at Statesville.com, the Statesville Record and Landmark, where the title says, "Taxpayer Bailouts, Just Say No." And so I read that, and probably, Congressman, a lot of people don't understand that while it's clear that Obamacare is really a disaster, there's a lot of money on the line here, taxpayer money.
Absolutely, hundreds of millions. When the bill was written, there was a provision called a risk corridor. And the risk corridor really was a backstop for the insurance companies that if there wasn't adequate revenue there that came in, from fees, that the taxpayer would bail them out. Well, we took this loophole out in the last two omnibus bills that we passed, and subsequently, now the insurance companies are filing suit against the government, and HHS gave a very inadequate response back to them, which basically left the impression that they were willing to settle their suits without a vigorous and strong defense of why there is no money owed. So we made it clear in our letter that I led. We had about 50 or so House members that signed it, a number of committee chairs, and to just make sure that the administration knew that Congress would stand firm, and they, of course, would have to go through Congress for any additional allocation of funds for Obamacare, which we're not going to support.
Our guest is Congressman Robert Pittenger. Now, basically, Congressman, we see here in North Carolina that really Blue Cross and Blue Shield is the only company left standing. A friend of mine works there.
They serve about 85%
right.
of the North Carolinians. United Healthcare pulled out, Aetna pulled out. You have a little bit of service provided by Cigna in the Raleigh-Durham area.
So with that in mind, I just saw a figure that anywhere from 17 to 24% rate increases projected for next year by Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Wow, is all I can say. This thing is really a mess.
Well, of course, the numbers are never going to work. Any thoughtful person understood that from the day one. But nonetheless, the government pursued this, and of course they had this backstop in there, this risk corridor, that would make the taxpayer come in behind and make up whatever losses, and that is not going to happen.
I noticed in your article, Congressman, that you said that your letter was co-signed by 45 of your colleagues, and including 3 committee chairs, 22 subcommittee chairs. That's pretty impressive. It sounds like you've gotten a lot of support here.
Yes, I think they understand we mean business, and we'll use whatever options are required to make sure that the administration does not seek to settle. Now, we're a bit encouraged. After my letter went out, then HHS wrote a letter back seeking the Department of Justice to dismiss 2 of these lawsuits. So I think HHS got the message that they're going to have to stand stronger and not be willing to settle these insurance companies.
Our guest is Congressman Robert Pittenger, representing the 9th District in North Carolina, and basically saying just say no to taxpayer bailouts of insurance companies that are involved in the Affordable Care Act. Now, I know you can't tell into the future, Congressman, but what do you think about the future of the Affordable Care Act? Is it just going to continue to implode, and is Congress going to have to eventually do something to change it?
Well, sure. It's a financial disaster. There's no way it can work financially. And, of course, our plan is to provide more choices, lower our costs, and we do that through competitive markets. And there's no competitive markets in the Obamacare plan. We need to open up the states to allow insurance companies to compete across state lines. And, of course, at the same time, we'll have coverage for all, including their age or income and medical conditions. We're committed to provide health care, but it's going to be in a market-driven capacity where a patient has a direct relationship with their physician.
Congressman, it doesn't seem to be rocket science to understand that competition, as you have described, would be a good thing, and yet that really wasn't a part of the plan. Are you confident that maybe now the idea of competition will really get a serious look in as far as one of the changes that need to be made?
Well, the left, the progressives, the socialists, the Democrats, whatever you want to call them, they're still, would like to go for the one-payer system. I mean, that's where they're headed, for the government to be totally in control of health care. And we're going to fight that tooth and nail in the House. Let's see who wins presidency. I mean, this is a major, major issue in the campaign, albeit it's not out there in the market because so many other issues have hit the radar screen. But this is a major problem, and we can address the problem, and we can do it through the market system. And there's other areas that we've got to explore. When I was in the state senate, I led the litigation, medical liability law, and frankly, organized a rally for 3,000 physicians to come to Raleigh in April of 2003. And from that time, we were able to build the commitment to provide a floor for what the limit to what the medical malpractice recovery could be. And we need that today on a national basis.
Congressman, before we let you go, I noticed at the bottom of your column, it talks about support for veterans. We had Nick Oxener from WBTV in Charlotte on the show last week talking about some of the wait times and the adjusting or basically fraudulently reporting wait times at the Veterans Center there in Salisbury. And it was really bad. And, I was horrified that people would treat our veterans this way. I believe you're on top of this and have a great interest in making sure that our veterans are treated properly, particularly by the healthcare center there in Salisbury.
Absolutely. We have a management problem. We have a civil service problem. We have employees that can't be fired. We have passed legislation. We passed 33 reform bills in the House that would totally create a major transition inside the Veterans Administration that would give the authority to the Secretary to really be able to fire people who are incompetent. And right now, those jobs are protected. So at the expense of our veterans, there's protection of jobs and bad service. So unfortunately, those bills are sitting over in the Senate. It's very difficult to manage Senate legislations. They operate under different rules. They require a 60-vote threshold to shut off debate through their cloture rule. So we are fully committed in the House, and we're driven these reforms to be able to create the transition in the VA to better manage it.
Well, I know that the veterans in your district and across the state of North Carolina certainly appreciate that, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but while we were talking...
Well, let me just say this, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
If a veteran has a need, they need to call our office. We'll help whoever veteran, wherever they are.
Yes, sir.
704-365-6234. We work on at least 500 veteran cases at any given time. So Robert Becker, who's my district director, has worked on these issues for 14 years. And we will work with any veteran to make sure that they can have their needs processed in the best possible way through the VA.
Well, one last thing, Congressman Pittenger. As we were talking, I got an alert here. Speaker Ryan has issued a press release saying the House takes legal action against Obamacare bailout for insurance companies. So it looks like your work is having some positive effect.
Well, I understand that. They know what we've been about, so I'm glad the Speaker took that leadership.
Well, thank you for the leadership you are providing the folks in your district and the great state of North Carolina, Congressman Pittenger. We really appreciate it, and we also appreciate you taking time to join us here once again on What Matters in North Carolina. Thank you very much, sir.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.